My daughter destroyed all of her little brother's stuffed animals, and as absurd as it sounds, that probably saved our lives. I had just come back from the grocery store when I saw the scene. The living room floor was covered in white stuffing, like fake snow, fabric torn everywhere, and my 2-year-old son Ben screaming, purple from crying, clutching the pieces of his favorite teddy bear. My daughter Adrian, 13 years old, stood in the middle of the chaos, eyes wet with tears. My husband, Daniel, pointed at her, shouting that she had lost her mind. I dropped the bags and ran to pick up Ben. "What happened?" I asked. Adrian raised her trembling hand, a closed fist, while Daniel lunged to grab her arm. "He put it in his mouth," she said, yanking free. "It was inside the teddy bear." I looked inside the ripped toy, a neat little slit stitched by hand, and inside a cold sparkle. Adrian opened her palm. A diamond ring, a silver necklace, 2 earrings. These weren't cheap trinkets. They were real. "You hid jewelry in our baby's toys?" I asked. Daniel spoke too fast, his voice too high. He claimed he had found the pieces during his night security rounds at work, that he planned to pawn them for extra money, that the toys were just falling apart and he had reinforced the seams. But sweat was already sliding down his face. Adrian bent down, picked up a necklace and held it to the light. "There's an engraving here," she whispered. "To Ruby with love, Mum." The name froze the air. 2 weeks earlier, a woman named Ruby Wilson had been found dead in a park near Daniel's office. The news said her jewelry was never recovered. "How do you have this necklace?" I asked, my voice breaking. Daniel insisted he had found it at work. But another toy, the elephant, held 3 rings. The rabbit, a bracelet. The dinosaur, a watch. Every single stuffed animal had a precise hidden slit, neatly sewn shut. Adrian stared at me with steady eyes, even through her tears. I saw him sewing at night when everyone was asleep. Daniel laughed, but it was hollow. "Stop being dramatic," he said, reaching out for the jewelry. Adrian darted behind me. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and dialed emergency services. That's when Daniel's expression changed. The mask fell away. His eyes went flat, cold. "You shouldn't have gone through Daddy's things," he said in a voice I'd never heard before. "Now, I have no choice." Adrian bolted into the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife from the counter, and pointed it with trembling hands. Daniel raised his palms in fake calm, but his eyes were fixed like a predator. "Hang up that phone or this gets worse," he said. From outside came pounding at the door and our neighbor shouting that police were on the way. Sirens drew closer. Daniel spun toward the back door, but his foot caught on a shredded teddy bear and he crashed into the coffee table. Jewelry scattered everywhere, flashing like shards of ice. The front door burst open. Officers rushed in, guns drawn, forcing him to the ground. Adrian dropped the knife and collapsed into me, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. That night, our home became a crime scene. Detectives marked each stuffed animal, photographing the neat cuts, the jewelry hidden inside. One detective picked up the engraved necklace and whispered that it matched exactly what Ruby Wilson's mother had described. They bagged every piece of evidence while Daniel screamed from the other room that I had set him up. Within hours, police found more jewelry in his car, hidden under the spare tire. Later, a storage unit key led them to dozens of bags, wallets, phones, rings, Idahos from women who had been missing for years. Some families had spent months praying for answers. Daniel had been cataloguing their lives like trophies. Piece by piece, the truth came together. The overtime shifts he claimed at work. The detailed stories about camera problems and trespassers. The insurance policies he had secretly taken out on me and the kids. $500,000 each, all with his name as beneficiary. Adrian began therapy. At first, she only drew dark pictures of stuffed animals with monsters sewn inside. Slowly, she started to speak again. And when she told me she wanted to testify in court, I believed her. Months later, she stood in a blue dress before the jury and spoke with a voice steadier than mine had ever been. She described the slits in the toys, the nights she caught her father sewing, the necklace engraved with Ruby's name. The defense lawyer tried to twist her words, but Adrian never faltered. 2 jurors cried as she told them. He said I shouldn't have gone through Daddy's things. Daniel insisted on testifying, but every word unraveled under the prosecutor's evidence. The DNA under Ruby's fingernails, the security footage placing him near the crime scenes, the hidden storage unit full of trophies. When the verdict came back guilty on every single count, Adrian squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. But for the first time since that night, she smiled. At sentencing, the judge gave Daniel life without parole for each murder, one after another, ensuring he would never walk free again. The judge called him a monster who had used his family's trust as cover for his crimes and praised Adrian for saving countless future victims. Now, months later, my son Ben finally sleeps clutching a brand new teddy bear, one that is sewn shut, sealed, safe. He asked me if this one could ever hurt him. I told him no. If Adrian hadn't ripped those toys apart, I might never have seen the truth hiding inside, and we might never have lived to tell this story. Sometimes salvation disguises itself as chaos. Sometimes the truth is hidden in cotton, and sometimes it takes the courage of a child to reveal the monster inside your own home.